Welcome, everyone, to episode number 106 of Talkin Kentucky. My name is Coleman Scott. Caden Holmes is out tonight. He's actually in Hawaii, which is a pretty good excuse to not be on the show. But I've got a very special guest tonight to take Caden's place, none other than Mario Maitland, who is quickly becoming a celebrity in the Kentucky media world. I've even got my KSR polo tonight,
he's repping.
to rep a little bit. So
He's
Mario, man, everybody was so excited when I said you were coming on. Everybody's like, "Oh man, Mario's coming on!" So I mean, yeah, man, you're just taking the world by storm here. So
I appreciate all the love, man. The love from the Big Blue Nation has been incredible, especially the Kentucky Sports Radio fans. They've been you can't ask for better fans and loyal fans, very loyal fans. Can we talk about that intro though? Just the intro that you had.
Smiling, yeah.
Yeah, man, it was very, very cool, man. I like that intro. Really Kentucky-like the music. Like I feel like
we actually took a lot of time figuring out what music we wanted to use for this show. In fact, we're a big fan of brackets. I know KSR does a lot of brackets on your all shows and everything. So we actually did a bracket of copyright free music to pick our theme song.
There you go. That's how you do it.
The name of that track is Guts and Bourbon. So it's very Kentucky,
very Kentucky-like.
I think so. Yeah, no, I saw you jamming out to it on there. So yeah, people like the Guts and Bourbon for sure. But man, thanks so much again for coming on. Really appreciate it, man. Well, I just wanted to kick it off by talking a little bit about you, man. We tell our guests to tell us your life story. When Corey Price came on the first time, he started at birth. You don't have to do that. You can start wherever you want, but I know you went to UK and that's about it. So you fill us in on the rest here.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm originally from Long Island, New York. Grew up there. I moved to Florida when I was 12. I was big in sports, mainly basketball. I didn't really play any other sports, Scott. It's just mainly basketball. Family was really strong in basketball. I had two older brothers that were really good. They were, one of the best players in their state, New York and Florida. So, just growing up around the game, I really kind of got to, see some of the best players in the country, from a spectator's perspective. Like I said, it's just really been a blast, being able to be, a part, of the Kentucky Big Blue Nation now, because I've always kind of been a fan of Kentucky growing up, even in New York, Long Island, New York. I've been a huge John Wall fan and DeMarcus Cousins, and that squad was kind of my squad growing up. And I always remember, Scott, me and my brothers, we'd play college hoops 2K, which is not out right now. They don't have a video game for college.
I know, right? They need to remake it again. I mean,
yeah, they do.
We got the football one going, but I've got the college football 25. I just like everybody else, I've been playing that for sure. But I think 2010 was the last basketball game that we got. Which was that? It was that John Wall year. Actually, was that
was my childhood right there. With me and my older brothers. I'm the youngest of three. And, we'd play all night on the video game. And Kentucky was my team. And no doubt about it. Kentucky was my team with John Wall. And, I've always kind of been, a huge Kentucky fan, even when I got to Florida, when I moved to Florida as a teen. And, really to be able to go to UK, as a student was incredible for me. That was, I'll never forget reading that acceptance letter, Scott, and seeing that I have a chance to go to Kentucky and be a student there. And like I said, I've a strong basketball family. I played basketball, growing up in high school. And then once I got to Kentucky, I was an active practice player with the women's team. So I got a little bit of,
sweet.
Burn.
I didn't know that. Nice.
Play against some girls on there, Ron Howard, I'd practice with her. And
man, that's crazy. What's it like getting the ball with Ryan Howard, man? That's awesome.
The funny thing about Ron Howard, Scott, in practice, so we're practicing leading up to her first game. I had no clue she was the best player until the first game. Because in practice, I don't want to say she'd go through the motions, but she wasn't, she wasn't the Ron Howard you see in the game. Like
She turned it up to another level in the game. You're saying
another level in the game, and it's like, and then her personality at the same time. She's a superstar, but doesn't act like a superstar. Like she's very friendly, very humble, quiet. Personality, very nice, but humble most of all. And
that's the ball. That's the ballers. When they just they dial it in when it comes time. But they're very very humble, very quiet. And they just that's what they do.
She's a walking element of that. She's incredible, and just being able to practice with the girls and have that opportunity to kind of see how UK athletics is, how they develop their players and how they go about doing things was incredible. Me being in practice with Coach Mitchell and all the other coaching staff was very cool as a student, especially as a student. And luckily I got a chance to take a podcast class later in my my college years. I was much longer down the line, and being able to take that class, I've always kind of I had some interest in media, especially as an athlete growing up. Scott, you always I'm always looking forward to the newspaper and seeing what the media has to say, about our last high school game or whatever the case may be. So, I've always been kind of close to media in a sense. And it's kind of like, you can't really avoid it, being an athlete, and for me to have create a podcast class, I've always wanted to create a podcast. And you got to remember the time that we were in, Scott, we were in COVID, and during COVID, Scott, podcast was, I'm sure that was the main thing. Everybody was creating a podcast.
Yeah, everybody was listening. Yeah. So it's kind of come back, and I think Matt actually talked about that on KSR a little bit the other day. Is like, or it may have been Fade This. He was talking about it on that, like, podcasts became a thing in like 2003. They were like hot for a while, and then they like completely stopped.
Fell off, yeah.
And then they came back. But no, like, that was me too, honestly. And sports journalism, sports writing, all that kind of media stuff has been a passion of mine too. And I should say too, I actually have kind of a backwards name. It's so Scott's actually my last name. Coleman's actually my first name. So it's Coleman Scott. Yeah, no, it's a little backwards. No, I just
Coleman Scott.
Give you a heads up. Yeah, so it's a little bit, and actually I think that was even a topic on KSR not too long ago. We talked about it on here too, is people that have last names for first names for last names. So I think I fall into that category. But
I think you do, man. I think you do. But yeah.
No, but that was me. So I may have told you because we met at KS Bar one day.
That's right. That's right.
So I was just eating a salad, and Mario walked by, and I started talking to him a little bit and told him about the pod, and he said he'd love to come on. So and here you are, which is absolutely great. But
yeah, man, I love the setup. It's really cool setup. I tell you what, when I first started, I couldn't. That was probably the most challenging. I don't know if it was like that for you. Just the analytics, the setting it up, the making the graphics. Like me looking at this right now, so like it's very impressive to seeing you got everything kind of put together well, constructed. I got to tip my hat off to you. It looks good.
Well, that means a lot coming from you, man. I really appreciate that. But it's a lot. It's a lot harder than people think. I mean, yeah, the graphics and all the work that goes on behind it, but then just doing it too, like, just being able to keep like a show moving and keep things interesting. I mean, as well as anybody, it's not as easy as it looks sometimes. So
absolutely, man. You definitely gotta, find a way to keep things fresh, and the consistency is the main thing, and especially when you got an audience, that's the main thing. You definitely you better put something out there, because then you're gonna lose your audience. But yeah, it's definitely something that it's a skill that you have to learn for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of audience, we got some Mario fans down here in our audience. We've got Madeline says hi, Mario. We got Claude down here says, Mario, you do great work on KSR, my friend. Love the hard work. I know Claude's a big Mario fan.
Thank you, Clyde. Shout out, Clyde.
And I got Marsha in here saying we need an NIL deal. I'll take an NIL deal. Don't you, Mario? I mean,
I don't mind NIL deals, man. Yeah, I don't mind it.
Man, we missed our time in college sports with the NIL and everything. But so when I was in school, so I went to school for music. I'm a trumpet player, and so is my buddy Caden, that's usually on here with me, is also a trumpet player. So we were classmates together at UK.
Oh, wow.
But if I didn't go into music, I really wanted to go into sports writing and sports journalism. So like this is kind of like scratching that itch for me getting to do this. So like this, it sounds like you kind of had a similar thing. Like this was just always a passion of yours, and you've gotten to follow it, and you're doing
Mhm.
it.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I was a history major, so kind of like along your route in terms of, not necessarily doing exactly what you want, but kind of, in the pool of what you want to kind of do. And history to me is like a lot of storytelling, and that's the main thing for me, is be able to tell stories. And I do that. I try to do that through content, through all my content I put out, whether it's the podcast. I try to have a storytelling basis, or even KSR. Whether I'm doing a clip, with Matt Jones, and he's saying something, I want to kind of have it tell a story to the audience. So that's kind of the main thing for me. Storytelling's a big, huge thing for me in terms of what I wanted to do.
absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your podcast that you do, the What's Next podcast, right? That's the name of it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, to tell us just a little bit about like maybe the format of it, yeah, who you've gotten to have on, and just
Yeah.
kind of where you've taken it.
It's incredible. It started with the class. You talked about you and your co-host was in class. Yeah, y'all do
Yeah.
music together and everything like that. For me, it started in a podcast class, and how UK has so many different classes, film classes, photography classes. They kind of lay it all out there in terms of what you want to do. And like I said, at that point in my career, I kind of wanted to feel out the electives a little bit, do some of the funner classes, move away from the serious classes, and the podcast class kind of presented itself. And I was able to do that and create the podcast through the class. Basically, what I wanted to do was, once I was done with the podcast class, I wanted to keep it going. And it kind of, I don't want to say it took off, because it wasn't. Even now, I don't look at it as it taking off. It still has a long way to go, but it's definitely developed into something that I'm sort of proud of now. But I want to definitely keep it going as we can go. And some of the guests that I've had on is kind of been the big thing, the huge thing about it. It is my podcast, but it's not necessarily about me. It's about my guests and who I have on, for them to really have the platform to be able to tell their story. That's big with me, storytelling, and being able to have people tell their story was huge. That's the main framework of the podcast. And I like I said, it's a very cool platform that I created that I want to continue to develop. And we've had so many different people, whether it's from the Big Blue Nation or within the Kentucky community. I like to shake things up and not just stay in one box. And that podcast is really gave me that platform to be able to do that. So like I said, I've been enjoying it so far.
Absolutely. Well, and I think you said I think it was the KSR pre-show one day, you kind of mentioned that you reached out to Matt Jones one day, and you're persistent in that, right? And that's what kind of got you to break through, right? I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Matt's probably Matt is the one of the biggest stars in the state of Kentucky, and a lot
Oh,
of people don't know
absolutely,
that.
yeah.
Gets
Mhm.
tons of messages and people that want him to do stuff for them or help him out. And I was one of them. I was that one guy who reached out to Matt through via a social media DM really long time ago, probably two or 3 years before where we're at right now. So for him, the crazy story is I reached out to him 3 years ago, and then I would say sometime last year he reached back out to me, and he kind of noticed what I was doing in social media, and it really we developed a relationship. It wasn't something that he was like, hey, I need you now. It wasn't like that. Like, we've had a relationship for some time before I started working with KSR, and he's been kind of like a mentor for me in terms of what he was able to do for me in my podcast. And have him come on the podcast and tell his story, and that was really cool. And then even after that, we developed a relationship. Just a guy who would take me out to lunch, and we just chop it up, and figure out what I can do to continue to progress in my career. And I like I'm truly thankful for that I have that opportunity, and I kind of luckily got into the position where he was needing somebody, and I kind of fit the mold of what he was needing, and I went with it. I didn't want to be able to pass up the opportunity, and it matched up for both of us, and we're here now. But that's kind of how the journey started with me and Matt. Just the relationship that developed over time in terms of him being more of a mentor for me, showing me the tools, showing me what I can do better with all my shows, and giving me honest advice.
So you've had a lot of big time guys on, right? You've had Matt Jones on. I know you've had like Darius Miller on. I've seen
Yeah, it was cool.
you've interviewed Willie Cauley Stein. Take us through like just some of the people you've had on, and maybe who some of your favorites to interview have been.
Man, yeah. You said some of them. Willie Cauley Stein, Darius Miller. A lot of people don't know. I like to say it all the time because I think of it as a gem. Reed Shepard, we had him on back
Yep.
when he was in high school. That was my
Oh,
that was my third episode when he was at North Laurel High School, and I interviewed him and his teammate. We chopped it up, and that was cool. We've had Ron Howard on, a lot of Kentucky greats. I've even had guys from my local area in Florida, Colin Castleton, who's playing for the Los Angeles Lakers right about now. So being able to kind of use my connections, and at the same time develop relationships with people that I'm a fan of, it's been incredible. It's hard to pick one favorite episode. I think some of the favorite episodes that I like is the ones where I could see, growth in terms of where when I interviewed them, they were at this position, and then now you look at them, they're at a whole different position now. Like, for example, Masai Russell is a gold medalist, and I
yeah.
interviewed her a year ago, around in June last year, around that time, and I remember her talking about Team USA at that moment when I'm interviewing her. So it's kind of cool to see how things play out. I would say those are my favorite interviews, is the ones where you can kind of see their path kind of turn out into something very successful.
Well, Reed Shepard, right? I mean, you had him on when he's at North Laurel. Look at him now. He's just killing it in the NBA Summer
Yeah,
League, right? So
it's incredible, man. He's
first American to be taken in the draft, which is pretty insane.
and no one saw that coming. I didn't see that coming. I remember interviewing him, and the talk was like, is he gonna get playing time? Like that was
Yeah,
the main thing. Like, is he gonna get
right.
some burn can he play at Kentucky? Like, that was the main thing. And now he's arguably gonna be probably the top pick for rookie of the year.
It's insane to see. We all thought that he would be like maybe even a 4-year guy at Kentucky, like definitely not a one and done, right? We thought he'd probably come off the bench, maybe be a good 6-man, might be his ceiling, but then he gets, he's a lottery pick, yeah, and he's just going to go dominate in the NBA, which is just, I mean, it's crazy, but that had to be cool to like know him and get to interview him when he's in high school, and just to see that progression and be able to say, I knew you win. That's pretty cool.
It's incredible. That's what it's about. It's called What's Next, and we always want to have that what's next mindset in terms of what you got coming up next. What you always want to push forward to what's next. He's now rookie of the year, and I'm sure he's thinking, what's next after his rookie season. So that's kind of the way we look at it. We have a what's next mentality, and I think it was a perfect fit to have him on the podcast and watch him be able to do his thing. Now in the NBA.
Well, let's talk about that name for a second. Like, how'd you come up with that? Because that's another thing about podcasts. It's not easy to come up with a name.
It's
So,
gotta fit, man. It's gotta fit.
yeah,
Like I see your name it makes sense. Like you got the
Talkin
Kentucky
Kentucky,
vibe going on, and you got the music in the intro. Like, it has to make sense, right?
right?
It has to fit all along together. And I give all the credit to the podcast class I took at UK. We didn't do an episode till the very last day of class. The final project was to create episode 1. And you
Okay,
would think, you would think,
yeah,
like what do you do? What do you do all the way up
yeah.
until that? You got August all the way to December. Like, what do you do? And I think that it was so cool how they set it up, and how you have to strategically, have a theme for your podcast and plan it out, make sure it's ready to go, and make sure all the behind the scenes stuff work. And when you put out episode 1, it looks professional. It looks good.
Yeah, and the progression. I don't know if you felt this way about yours, but I mean, I feel like Kate and I have gotten so much better at it from episode one. I mean, like episode one was like, man, we listen back to it now because this is episode 106. We're like, man,
Uh,
we are like a
it's
different
incredible.
group.
It's
Yeah,
incredible, man. Like, yeah, I urge people, like, if they're watching this, go watch episode one, my very first episode, and then watch my most recent one with Coach Kenny Brooks, and you'll see,
yeah,
like, you'll be so surprised, like the amount of growth that you can do in such a short amount of time, and just by doing it, like just by you and your co-host coming together. Hey, we got another episode, coming out this week. Let's get ready for it. Like, you're getting better every time you put out the episode, and that was the main thing for me.
We had Maggie Davis on the episode last summer, and she's just one of the best like interviewers that I've ever seen, and I put you in that category too. Like
Okay, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, of course. Well, yeah. I mean, like you already talked about it, like how to get people to tell their story, right? And
Yeah.
so, just talk about like, I mean, what do you do to prepare for these interviews? How do you get the best story out of somebody?
I hear so many different things because I'm still in the shoes of interviewing people, and of course I want to be my absolute best every time I put out an episode. And I've heard I've met someone who don't prepare. They just go into the interview and they like to have a casual conversation. That's okay. It works for whoever, whatever works for you, whatever works for me. But for me, like, I always try to prepare as much as possible. Now every guest is completely different. That's the main thing. You have one guest, you might sit across from Ron Howard, and she might be, quiet, on the quieter side, not much to say, more reserved. Then you might have a guest that talks a lot more, who has a lot more to say. And whether you're sitting across from someone like Coach Settergren, the UK men's soccer coach, who knows the game in and out, has a lot to say, wants to get some stuff off his chest. You definitely have to kind of maneuver, in a different style with every guest you get, and I think the main thing for me is, of course you want to research, of course you want to ask the right questions, but the main thing for me is making my guests completely comfortable as much as possible. I want to make sure they don't feel like, they can't say certain stuff around me. I want them to have, make sure they're completely comfortable. That way we can get, I don't even like to say the best. We don't want to get the best stories, because stories are going to come out eventually. But you just want to make the environment around you, make it a safe space for your guests, and have them be able to tell their story like that. And I think the coolest thing about it is, after every episode, it feels like I know the person personally. Like, we've been
Yeah,
friends for 5-6 years, and then when I see him again, it's like it's automatically, it's love. Like even La Familia, when I see some of the guys that I've interviewed, it's like Darius Miller sees me, and it's a big grin, because it's like, he definitely, he feels the comfortability with me, and it's love. At the end of the day, you definitely create a relationship with that person in 30 minutes. And I
yeah.
think that's the coolest part about it for me, is just making sure my guest is completely comfortable and be able to create a lasting relationship. And like I said, it's not about me. I'm just the guy asking questions in the long run. So
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great to just to be able to feel like you've really gotten to know the person. You want your audience to feel like that too, right? If you feel like you've gotten
yeah,
to know somebody, like the chances are your audience probably feels that way too. So
absolutely.
that's a good point. But so we already talked about the graphic design of things, being a challenge. And man, it really is like making all these shorts and reels and things like that. It takes a lot of time,
A
and
lot,
it's
man.
like I see everything that you pump out like on a daily basis. How do
It's
you
a
do
lot.
it? I
It's,
mean, that's
it's
my
tough, man. Like,
question.
it's
Yeah,
a lot of behind the scenes work. It's a lot of long hours, and dedication. And I think the podcast kind of created the framework and the blueprint for me to be able to do what I'm doing now with KSR. So this is nothing new to me in terms of what I'm doing with KSR, because I've done it for my podcast. And
sure.
it's almost like I was in training. And now it's like I'm ready to go. I feel like I'm comfortable in terms of what I can do. I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm still getting better day by day. And
Yeah.
it's been great, man. I've been loving the whole situation. But like you said, man, being able to be dedicated and consistent, because you have an audience and you have to keep things fresh. You can't post, the same stuff over and over because then your audience dies, and you got to be able to keep things fresh and follow trends at the same time. And it's a lot. It's a lot to do. There's nights where I'm up 2, 3, but I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I'm used to it in terms of what I've been doing. I'm it's nothing new to me. I've had I've had podcast episodes where I'd shoot a pod, I'd get all the files back from the podcast episode, and I'd come home and I'd put out those clips for the next day, and then I'd have to go to work at my old job, which is my old job was a day job where I'd sell cars and stuff like that. So I had to do that. I did a radio show during my lunch break at one point. I got work and I got a lunch break. I got to go to a radio show. So yeah, you got to do it. Like, it's the consistency and just being able to be dedicated. And like I said, you get better at it, but you want to keep things fresh at the same time. That's the main thing. So,
well, man, so selling cars, do you feel like that prepared you at all for what you're doing now?
Of course, absolutely. Selling cars, I mean, you gotta be able to. It's a little bit different, but you got to be able to know how to talk to people.
Yeah,
right?
you do. Yeah.
Regardless of if you're talking to someone you don't know, or if you this person's from a different culture, you definitely have to know how to talk to people and get to know people on the spot. So I take a lot of things from my last job. Shout out to my last job. It was very, very cool. KSR was, funny story. KSR is I've always known of KSR, but as a college student, there's so much going on, and I've heard of it in college, but college, you got a lot going on. You're not paying attention in the detail. And as soon as I got out of college, I got my first job, renting and selling cars at Enterprise. That was my last job, and that's when I really heard of KSR, because my boss would listen to it every single morning.
That's
so
me. I listen every day.
Yeah, of course. And you get to really see how important, how important KSR is. And it's not just a radio show, and how it's a part of people's lifestyle, everyday lifestyle. So like I said, it's been cool for me. And I could try to take things from my last job and apply it to this job. Cool process. That's what it's about.
Well, talking about KSR just a little bit more in particular here, I really feel like those guys are truly what they come across as on radio. Like they are in real life, what they portray themselves to be in radio. And I've gotten to just meet and talk to the guys a couple times. Obviously you're around them way more than I've been, but they're like so genuine. I think that's why people like the show, is just because they're themselves, right?
Themselves. That the first advice they gave me, I remember my first time going on KSR, didn't know I was going to be on, Matt. And you know what Matt Jones does? He's going to call you out on the spot and, get you on the radio and, put you on the spot. And the first advice they gave me was just be yourself. Be yourself. That's all you got to do. And that's what they do. They have drastic, totally different personalities. Matt has a different personality from Ryan Lemon. Ryan Lemon has a different personality from Drew Franklin, etc., with Shannon as well. Totally different personalities, but I look at them as all my uncles, my older uncles. I can hang out with each and every one of them. It don't matter what we're doing, but yeah, like I said, they really do a good job of just being themselves, and you get to kind of see it. What I've really noticed over the past few months is just how big they are. I didn't really grasp how, big KSR and how big they are in terms of how much they mean to the state until I was actually in it and understanding, seeing behind the scenes and what it's like. And, even today, I was just at the Kentucky State Fair, and it's like, it's nonstop. Like, people want to take pictures. People want to talk with them, and you get to hear people's stories, and you really get to understand, like, KSR is a part of these people's lives. This is a lifestyle.
It really is.
These people get up, they get up, they go to work, they listen to KSR, they turn it on. Like, it's a part of their lifestyle, and it's really been incredible.
Well, speaking of the state fair, I think you said you and Drew stayed afterwards, right? And tried some fair foods. Did you got any highlights on that? Got any
man, it was cool.
Standouts?
It was cool, man. I like the deep fried Oreos is my favorite thing. Corn dogs, I think what happened was we got the wrong corn dogs. It wasn't the exact corn dogs that we were looking for. We wanted more of the longer corn dogs. We got the shorter corn dogs. And
Oh, like the
they,
mini corn dog, like you eat
yeah, I
them,
think,
like okay, like the
yeah,
poppers.
I don't think they came out too well, but yeah, it was fun, man. It was great, beautiful weather. It wasn't too hot out there. And we got to see, meet a lot of different people from across the state. So, those things, those remote shows are they're incredible. The travel, being able to go to different parts of the state of Kentucky, that's probably the best part.
Well, even when they do the show at the bar, like when I came by the other day, it was just like just people that come in just on a weekday just to see them at the bar. It's like, I mean, they always get an audience, like no matter what. So even if they
Yeah,
don't ask for one, there's going to be an
there's
audience
gonna be
sometimes.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to be one. Even football season coming up, and I can't tell you how many times people have been telling me, "Wait till football season." You think this is crazy?
Well,
Wait till
that's
football
true.
season. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I mean that's
I'm
absolutely
pumped
true.
for football season. I am.
Well, I want to know if you have like a record projection or anything, or any thoughts on the season or anything. Everybody's talking about it. It's that time of year that it's like it sucks because we're so close, but we're not there yet. So we gotta
Yeah,
we gotta wait.
I
So
don't know how many
we're still
days.
talking, but
I think it's 9 or 8 days. I don't know. I can't. I forgot. I know it's coming up, but yeah,
yeah,
everybody's talking about Kentucky football, and you could feel the excitement in the air. Record wise, I don't know what it's gonna look like. I got them winning at least 7 games because they're that good.
there you go.
Um, and I mean, like, it's tough. I mean, their schedule's the hardest, is the main problem right now. They got the tools. They got a quarterback who's from Georgia, from a winning program, and Brock Vandergrift. The depth at the quarterback space is amazing. Bo Allen, you got another transfer quarterback as well. So
Yeah,
they have tools on offense. We definitely got to see what Brock brings to the table. I think he's gonna be successful, man. I think he's coming from Georgia. This guy's he's a 5-star recruit in high school. Like, and he's I'm sure he's developed. He's waiting for the opportunity to show what he can do at this level. And then on the defensive end of things, that's what everybody's been talking about, the defense. I mean, we're looking at one of the
yeah,
best defensive teams that we've ever had. We got Deion Walker, Maxwell Harrison. These are potential, NFL draftees. And JJ Weaver's kind of been floating under the bus. Not too many people talking about him. Zion Childress is also another stud. So they got weapons. They have the tools to be great. The schedule doesn't necessarily line up with the roster. we
hmm
would I
right.
would prefer a different schedule, maybe a schedule from maybe last year or even the year before that compared to now, because we got the big dogs, Georgia, the Texases, the Tennessees of the world. They're here now, so it's kind of unfortunate in how the schedule plays out. But like I said, even if this team goes, if they win 6 games this season, that doesn't define if they're a bad team. I wouldn't define the schedules. It's tough. It's definitely tough, but I'm
It
excited
is.
for it, man. I'm excited for Kentucky football. I think they're headed in the right direction, and I think Mark Stoops and Coach Vince, they don't get enough credit for what they've done for the program, because as we
We used to
football.
pray. We used to pray for
Man,
75
what?
seasons, and now that's the floor. So
Man,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
Man, what? Football is not the thing, right? You don't. Kentucky's not necessarily known as a football school, man. So, and now that's arguable. That's it's headed in the right direction. You got to give those guys credit.
Absolutely, and it's like it does suck that it feels like we finally got the roster that we want, and then Texas and Oklahoma join the SEC, and it's like, okay, now we got to fight that battle. But
Yeah, it's tough. It's
um,
tough.
everybody's talking about Dane Key could be in for a big breakout season. It's not just Ryan Lemon, everybody's talking about that, but especially Ryan, and that's why it's been like I found myself cheering for that kid like even more the past few years because I just get so excited when Ryan gets excited.
Man,
It's so like
Ryan
awesome.
loves it. He's been trying to
Yeah.
calm it down a little bit in terms of talking about Dane, but I think, yeah, Dane's up for a big year. He put on a lot of different weight, and Barryon Brown. I think their mindset has really changed for both of those guys. They sophomore season was a little bit, they think they could have done better. now they're headed into a junior season, making making some noise. They want to make some noise this season. I think they can do that. Especially at this level where you have Texas and Tennessee. You're playing on a bigger platform now. They're definitely I'm sure they're excited to prove that they can make some noise in this conference. The SEC conference is incredible. So like I said, I'm excited for Dane Key. I think Dane Key, Barryon Brown, they're up for big years, and it only makes the offense that much better. You got Brock Vandergrift. Now you have somebody to throw to, and like I said, I think they're up for a big year. Just schedule's tough, but they can. That South Carolina game, that second game is going to be.
It's gonna be the one.
It's big time. Yeah, that's a big time game right there.
We already we talked a little bit of basketball, and you kind of growing up watching John Wall and everything, and you being a basketball guy. So, are you what John Calipari would call a basketball Benny? Are you more of a basketball guy than a football guy? Would you say?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Basketball, yeah, huge basketball guy.
Caden's the same way. My co-host, I'm trying to get him more into football. See, I'm almost like more of a football guy. I know that's like not normal being a Kentucky guy, but yeah, I just love college football, man. Just like the passion behind it and everything. But obviously we got Mark Pope coming in this year, so like a lot of anticipation behind that. And Cal's going to come back to Rupp this year, right, against Arkansas and Kentucky there in Rupp Arena.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you what do you think it's going to cost just to get in the building for that game? Because you think about just a normal like non-conference, we're playing like Florida A&M or something like that, right? Like it costs $100 to $150 just to get in the building for that. So like, what do you think it's going to be when Cal comes to town?
400, 450, maybe around that range. 400, 450 for the cheapest ticket. 400.
See, I was going to say 5, maybe. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's that high. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a crazy atmosphere. Probably one of the best atmospheres in Rupp Arena. I don't know if you're booing.
I know. I'm not like Ryan with the thumbs down. Maybe
See, that's the thing. Everybody says that now, but when they're in that moment and they're in, if you're in Rupp Arena, you're gonna boo. You're gonna boo.
Yeah. It's like the peer pressure. Like everybody else around you's going to boo. You can't just sit there and not boo. So no, I think that's right. But yeah, that's going to be a hot ticket for sure. But we have to win that game, right? That's not going to be good if Cal comes in and wins. So
yeah, we wouldn't want that. But I think Pope. I trust Pope, man. I'm a huge fan of Pope and what he does, man. So I think they'll pull through.
Well, how about that? The turnaround. It was like overnight. It seemed like people were totally against the Pope hire to being all in on Pope. Like it literally seemed like a 24-hour turnaround. It was crazy.
It was crazy, man. I remember that week. Kind of. That was my first week of working with KSR, so it was crazy. It was definitely crazy. But I remember when we were. Matt was talking about the options that Kentucky had to hire. You had Scott, you had I believe you had the Baylor's coach. I can't remember his name right now. Scott Drew.
Yeah.
You had Dan Hurley, and Mark Pope wasn't even in consideration. They were actually joking about it. Like I remember creating a clip, and they were going over, all right, this is your list of candidates. And then Mark Pope's name came up. They laughed. Like, I remember them laughing. So, and I laughed too. And I was like, who is Mark Pope? I've never heard of Mark Pope. And for him to, when they announced it, everybody, the fan base was like, what is going on? And, we were supposed to get Dan Hurley. We end up with Mark Pope. And I remember that. And then overnight, I don't know what happened. Like something changed in the air, or maybe everybody got a good night's sleep, or whatever the case may be. But
probably so. Yeah, I mean, just that speech though in Rupp. Though I mean, like he couldn't have been better. Like his opening ceremony in Rupp. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better.
I don't want to speak too soon because we don't know what's going to happen in terms of how he does. But like. The hire itself was incredible. Like it didn't make sense at first, but when you look at it and you break it down, Mark Pope checks every box that
Yeah.
Kentucky wanted. You wanted a coach that leans more towards X's and O's. Mark Pope checks it off. You want a coach who understands what it means to play for Kentucky because he played there. Mark Pope checks it off. So he checks off everything. You want a coach that wants not necessarily care. I don't want to say he doesn't care about one and dones, but that's not his priority. His priority is winning championships, and hanging banners. So you have that. You can check that off. So he checks off every box in terms of what Kentucky wanted and has been wanting in the last few years. And I think it was so far it's been a perfect hire. Perfect.
And hey, maybe you didn't know who he was, but you did ask him a question in that first press conference. You were bold enough to raise your hand. And I can't remember what you asked. I'm sure you do. What
I was
you
so
asked?
nervous, man. I was nervous. So I asked him. I said, "What are you most excited for the season?" It's an easy question. I didn't want to, make it too complicated. You got 22,000 people in there, and you just want to give them an easy question to rile up the crowd and kind of get it going. But I wanted to the reason why I asked it, I just kind of thought it was, I don't want to say a perfect way to introduce myself, but I kind of thought it was right, in the moment in terms of what I wanted to do. When you look, towards your right, I'm sitting across some, superstars in the media field. Matt Jones is here. You got Alan Cutler and this, all these guys that are huge. You got, Keith Farmer and Maggie Davis. Everybody's in attendance. Jack Pilgrim. Everybody's there. And I kind of wanted to be like, hey, I'm here too. I want to
make your entrance.
Yeah, and that was kind of my thing. And very fun night, huge, incredible night in terms of what Mark Pope did for the state of Kentucky. They didn't know, obviously, I'm sure you saw it. They didn't know that so many people would show up in Rupp Arena, and you got people in the stands crying, and like it felt almost fake. Like it felt fake. Like when they came off the bus and you see all these legends, Cameron Mills come off the bench and Reed Shepherd's dad's off the bench. And you're like, what is this? Like, is this is a pep rally?
I unfortunately wasn't in the building, but it even from afar, even watching online, like it did feel like a religious experience almost. I mean, it was like I almost started crying when the bus rolled in. It's like, everybody's there. Everybody who has ever been somebody in Kentucky basketball, it feels like is there. Yeah. So it was a great, man. It couldn't have been any better. But I think the only thing that remains to be seen about Mark Pope that people are wondering is, can he recruit? But we got the commitment recently from Malachi Moreno. Everybody's waiting on Jasper Johnson. I kind of have the gut feeling, and I mean, from what I've just been hearing from people, it feels like Kentucky's kind of the trending school right now. But man, you think we can land them? You think we could add to this class?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about it, but I think when you got Malachi Marino, calling him out, and he's another local Kentucky guy like Jasper, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say no to that. And then you got to look at the deeper details. He's a legacy recruit. So his dad went here, his grandfather went here. Like, what more do you need? Like, it just it doesn't make sense for him to go to Alabama when his dad and his grandpa here came here, and like he's a local guy. He's from here, and he's known, in the city, and he's got mentors that are from here, like D'Angelo Russell, who's a big mentor for him, who's from Louisville, Kentucky. So he has so many connections to the state of Kentucky. It only makes sense for him to come here. And I think we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can get him into a Kentucky Wildcats jersey, and and then you got to tip your hat off to Mark Pope and what he's been able to do. To land these guys. This is Mark Pope went all the way to, I think it was Australia, to go see Jasper. To go watch Jasper, and I remember interviewing Jasper on KSR, and he talked about that very moment of how he was surprised when he saw Mark Pope in the stands in Australia, and while he's playing for Team USA. So those little things, those mean a lot. And I think Mark Pope does a really good job of showing that he cares, even to his recruits and the fan base as well.
Yeah, and he like drove to I think it was Nashville to pick up somebody, and he brought his mom like a pack of Diet Coke or something like that in the car.
Yeah,
Like he goes the extra mile,
he
uh,
does, man.
more so than and that's the other thing is like he like chauffeurs these recruits around like, and he spends every moment with them. He doesn't just send some like assistant to go pick them up or whatever. Like he goes and does it himself, and I think that's got to matter to a recruit, right?
It has to, right, man? I mean, being able to show that you care, obviously, but I think it definitely it's related to how he went here. So like he's a Kentucky guy. He knows what it means. He knows exactly what it means to carry on the tradition, and it's easy for him to relay that to the recruits. And I think it's a perfect, it's a perfect opportunity for guys like Jasper Johnson, especially the local guys, the Travis Perrys, the Trent Noahs. Like it almost like it has to fit. And Mark Pope is that perfect person to kind of, make it all gel.
Absolutely, man. Well, you know what? One thing that we do on this podcast too, since we're live, we try to be like a little radio show. We take a couple calls each.
Oh,
So
that's
we have a
awesome.
little
Wow.
little phone line. So we might open up for just a couple little calls here as we kind of round out the show a little bit here. But 502-234-1504, give us a shout if you'd like. Mario, one of the most recent reels you posted is you were asking the KSR guys what their thermostat is set to, but I've got to ask you. Nobody's asked you what your thermostat is set to. So
Yeah.
I
So
got to ask you.
right now I can't see it, but I'm pretty sure I have it at around like 72, 73.
Okay, there you
And
go.
once I go to sleep, it has to be cold though. That's the
Oh, me
thing.
too.
My apartment, like, air conditions really strong, so it's at like, I would say 69, 68 once I'm in bed. I like to keep it cool, but I've heard it has to be cold when I go to sleep for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Same here. Hey, you're on with Talkin Kentucky. Who's this?
How's it going?
What's up, Clyde? How you doing, man?
Doing good. I'm just been counting the days down for football season, and we're about almost 8 days away. Knocking out.
Oh, I'm excited, man. I've been counting it down since 100, so I'm ready.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be. Yeah, I agree with what Mario said. I mean, the schedule doesn't match with how good this team can really be. Like it just doesn't match. I mean, it really doesn't. Like, I mean, honestly, do you personally think that this schedule that we have right now, do you think that would have matched up well with Will Levis's first year here? Do you think that would have matched up well or no?
I don't know that it would. It may be about the same. Everything I'm hearing the offense might be on the same level this year as that Will Levis first year. But I'm hearing the defense might be a little bit better. So I think all around the team might be better. But I don't know, man. Like Ole Miss is going to be good. Obviously, you got to go to Texas. That's impossible. Winning at Tennessee is proved historically to be hard for us. So I think you got a tougher road schedule overall, at least this year. So
Yeah.
it remains to be seen. But
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, this is just a brutal schedule. I mean, it really is. Like, I mean, I like it, but then again, I don't like it because then again, like, what if we go 7-5, and I hope we don't. I would at least like 9-3 or 8-4 season. But this schedule is just such a gauntlet.
Yeah,
It's
it's tough.
just, in my opinion, I think it might be the toughest schedule in the Stoops area. It's just,
I think it could be.
especially
Yeah.
when you don't have the East versus the West anymore, and it's a brutal schedule. It's tough.
I will say I do like having Georgia a little bit earlier, though. You might be able to catch them off guard. If you remember last year, South Carolina almost beat them early in the season. So, that might be us this year. Hopefully,
Yep.
we actually do beat them. So,
Georgia's a home game
well,
too, so yeah.
And
yeah,
then also
yeah.
Auburn almost beat them too, and but that was a Jordan Hare. Jordan Hare is just, you don't know what you're gonna get yourself into. And I'm glad that we're not going there. Thank God that we're not going there this year, because I'd be a nervous wreck heading into that Auburn game in Jordan Hare because you don't know what you're going to get yourself into when you travel to a place like that. It's just unpredictable. You just never know.
That's exactly right, man. Well, hey, before we let you go, what is your official Clyde Hare record prediction for the Cats?
I'm gonna go with what you said. What I said last week. Oh, what was it the week before with Corey Price? I'm gonna go 8-4 still.
8-4. Okay. Yeah.
I'm still sticking with 8-4. But I've said before, if we can beat Ole Miss, you're going with the 9-3 season. I just feel like but we'll see. It's gonna be hard, but can we do it? That remains to be seen.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's pull for 9-3, hopefully. But I'd be happy with 8-4 too. I think that'd be a success. But all right, man. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
See you, Clyde.
Absolutely. Go Cats.
So yeah, Clyde calls in every show. I think
awesome.
Clyde's a big fan. So Clyde's a big Mario fan too. It seems like.
Shout out Clyde, man. A loyal fan, man. You can't go wrong with loyal fans. That's what pushes you through when you don't feel like you're gonna be consistent. You got your loyal fans to push you through. So that's cool.
That's exactly right. Absolutely. But no, you like to be cold when you sleep. Okay, of course. I do too. I feel like down because I'm in Baton Rouge. So I went to grad school at LSU. So I live down here in Baton Rouge. I still rep my Kentucky down here.
I remember you telling me that. That's right. Yeah.
I still rep my Kentucky down here, but it's especially this time of year, it's like 100 and above every single day. So
it's muggy out there.
I keep my yeah, you have no idea. You think it's humid in Kentucky, but then you come down here, it's a different level. But man, yeah, like I keep my thermostat probably 76, 77 because when it's 100 degrees outside, that's like the equivalent of 71, 72 in Kentucky. I feel like so that's how my math works.
It's a good way to look at it. Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
But I have to turn it down a little cooler when I sleep. But during the day, I can make that happen. So
for sure.
But I couldn't believe Drew though on that reel. He said he keeps it at 65 when he sleeps. I can't. I don't want to see his electric bill. But then
I
again,
don't either, man.
Billy said he keeps his at 65 during the day. So that's really crazy. I really don't want to see Billy's electric bill, but
I don't either, man. I don't even want to step in their house, man. It's probably really cold in there. You gotta throw a hoodie on or something like that while you're in there.
Hey, it probably is, but we'll do kind of a last call for calls here. 502-234-1504. Give us a shout if you want. Another thing they like to do over there at KSR is fair or fouls. So I have a fair or foul for you, Mario, here. So
okay,
give you one. So a school district in Ohio canceled their students' field trip because of low test scores. And you think that a school canceling a field trip for low test score? I've heard them canceling for like bad behavior or something like that.
Yeah.
Thing, but for low test scores, do you think that's going a little too far, or you think
that is going too far? That's
okay.
going a little bit too far, especially for test scores. I'm a terrible test taker. Like I hate tests, so I definitely feel that. Especially, I know those kids have been looking forward to that field trip, and now you got to tell them that they can't go because their test scores wasn't high enough. That's punish them a different way, but not the field trip, man. That definitely, I know they're looking forward to that, so that's tough, man. I'm foul on that one. Foul.
Yeah, I'm gonna go foul too because like what if there's like one or two kids that got 100, and they did their part.
Yeah.
They're trying to carry the rest of the group, and they still don't get to go on the field trip. I don't believe in the group punishment type thing. Like you gotta
punishments. I hate punishments. No, you can't do that, man. Yes. Like I said, man, tests thing with me, I'm not a good test taker, so I know that hurts for some of the students that struggle with tests, especially big tests.
Oh, absolutely. ACT, I was the worst of that kind of thing. I did good enough, I got in UK and everything, but like I was not like the 36, I was not gonna no life my ACT studying to get a 36.
ACTs, SATs, I hated all of them, man. Those killed me, especially the long ones. You have to sit in the room for 2-3 hours and just asking. You got to answer all these tough, complicated questions, man. I hated it.
Hey, it's I definitely did too. and everything. But one other little thing here, I wanted to get another topic on KSR. I've been bringing out a lot of KSR topics tonight since I've got Mario on. It gives me an excuse to do that here. But I think Matt and Drew and the guys were talking about the Power 5 city they would most want to live in and least want to live in. And Barstool just released a list of the top 50 most fun colleges in the U.S. So the top 50 most fun cities. And this is the top 10. I kind of have a problem with this.
Lexington's got to be in there, though.
That's the thing. It's not in there. Like,
is this like for the entire country or is it just for SEC?
Yeah, it's the entire country. It's not just SEC.
Lexington probably didn't make the
but I mean, I love Lexington. To me, Lexington, and I'm biased, being a UK fan, but I think Lexington's like an awesome college town because you kind of got the best of both worlds. You got the big city feel, but then you got like the small
vibes. Yeah, and it's when they're winning, it's incredible, man. When they're winning, when Kentucky's winning, there's no other greater feeling than that. You go to State Street and you burn some couches, you walk down Limestone and you hear everybody honking their horn. It's nothing like it, man, especially when they're winning.
Exactly. Well, but the top 10 here is Colorado, so Boulder. Okay, so you got Boulder, Colorado, you got Austin, Texas, which I could see that one probably. Iowa City, Iowa, which I really don't get that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the okay.
Here's the real kicker: Columbia, Missouri. It's got to be one of the worst towns in the SEC, let alone the country. Yeah,
that's on there. Wow.
Madison, Wisconsin. We got Tucson, Arizona. Morgantown, West Virginia.
All right.
State College, Pennsylvania. Tallahassee, Florida, and Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, Tallahassee should be rated higher. I'm surprised Gainesville's not on there. That's a big swamp. They get down in the swamp.
Well, we already talked about Lexington not being on there, but yeah, I mean Gainesville could be one. What about Tuscaloosa? How do you live?
Alabama. Yeah.
That's got to be up there. Like a bunch of SEC towns, I feel like it got to be up there.
Has to be on there. SEC, man, they got so many different schools like LSU. I'm surprised that's not on there. So I don't know, man. I don't know. With some of the West Virginia, I was surprised to hear West Virginia on there and
Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah, come on,
Iowa
man.
City. Yeah, what's in Iowa? Yeah, no, absolutely. But I can kind of see Columbus. I could kind of see Austin, Texas, which I guess
Austin. Yeah. We're supposed to be going down there. KSR we're probably going to be going down there. Hopefully, if football goes well, we'll be heading down there. So hopefully we can steal a win in Austin, Texas.
See, same. My old college roommate lives in Austin now, so I feel like I've got an excuse to go. I've got a couch to crash on and everything. I feel like I got to make it down there. But
I got a few. Actually, I got one former UK basketball player who's in Austin, Texas. That we definitely got a link once we get down there. Shout out to EJ Floriel. That's my guy. So
heck yeah.
So hopefully, I'm hoping we can get down there to Austin, Texas. That'd be cool. We can get the link up.
Absolutely. Well, man, we'll kind of round it out here. Just thanks so much for coming on again. Really,
man. It's a pleasure. I'm a fan. I'm gonna be tuning in to see who you get. I know Drew kind of. I don't want to spoil it. I'm probably spoiling some guests right now, but I know you and Drew Franklin. You and Drew Franklin, Drew Franklin supposed to make an appearance. So I'm definitely gonna be tuned in and see what it looks like, man. I love what you're doing.
Hey, absolutely. Yeah. Drew, we want to get Drew on here. Drew and Caden are from the same hometown in Kentucky, Madisonville. So cool. I wanted to wait to have Caden on here to get Drew in here. But and Drew told us that Ryan does one of these pretty much every night. So feel like we got to get Ryan on too. So we
got to get those guys on, man. That'd be so cool.
We gotta do that. But hey, it's week 0. Football season kicks off this week. We gotta do. There's a couple games on Saturday. We gotta do some little win-loss predictions here before we get out of here. I'm sure you know about Florida State and Georgia Tech over in Ireland. I'm gonna go Florida State on that one. But Mario, who are you taking?
I'm going Seminoles. I agree with you, man. Those guys, they I think they, they breed football over there in Tallahassee. So yeah, I'm going
Absolutely.
Florida State.
And I'm not sure how many Georgia Tech fans are going to make it over to Ireland, especially. So
Yeah,
um,
I don't know.
now Montana State at New Mexico. Don't know anything about either one of these teams. For some reason, Montana State is a 13.5-point favorite. I feel like New Mexico is going to get them, though. I just feel like I just don't. I've never heard of Montana State, so
I
I feel
was
like
just
New
gonna say
Mexico is
that.
going to win.
I've heard of New Mexico, and but not Montana State. So I'm gonna go with you on that one, man. I'm gonna go with you on that
Okay,
one.
we'll roll Lobos there. I guess is who it is. And then SMU at Nevada. SMU is a 24.5-point favorite on this. I don't know much about Nevada football, but I have I've heard of SMU, and that was a big topic on the Fade This podcast. A lot of SMU talk this week. I won't spoil it, but more about non-football stuff than football. But so I'll take SMU in honor of that.
I'm gonna go against you because last person I played on college football wasn't the last person, but it was a few weeks back. They beat me with SMU, so I'm going with Nevada.
Okay.
I'm going with Nevada on there just to change up the gears and I got some hate for SMU.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. College football 25 hate. That's fair. We got last game here: Delaware State at Hawaii. And I'm going to Hawaii. That's a feat in and of itself. I feel like so. Caden Holmes, my co-host, is over in Hawaii right now. When we've picked Hawaii in the past, they haven't done too well. But I think this year, they're playing Delaware State, so that's an inferior team even to Hawaii.
You got to get that one right.
In fact, Hawaii is a 40-point favorite. Now, I don't know if Hawaii is going to cover 40. That's a lot of points, but I do think that Hawaii is going to come away with the W. Did you hear about Delaware State is having trouble even getting to Hawaii? They missed their bus or something to get to
I
the
did not
airport.
hear that. I did not hear that, but I could see it. I could definitely see that happening.
So, but no, I'm rolling with Hawaii on that. Rainbow Warriors.
I'm gonna go with you on that one as well, man. I feel like Delaware State's not necessarily known as the football team of the in the nation, a dominant football team in the nation. I'm gonna go with you on that one. I'm not going with Delaware State.
Okay, well that's our week 0 predictions. Until leave you off there. I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up and get out of here. This has been episode number 106 with Mario Maitland. And Mario, we always one unique thing we do here is we always name our show Talkin' Something. So, the name of the pod's Talkin' Kentucky, but we name each episode Talkin' Something different. So I think we got to roll with Talkin' Mario tonight, right?
For sure, man. That works. That works, man.
Honor of you coming on. So yeah,
I appreciate you for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure. Love what you're doing. It's fun, man. Seeing the podcast in space, everybody kind of, doing their own thing in their podcast and space, man. Got to tip my hat off to you, man. Keep doing what you're doing and keep in touch, man. You got my Facebook and everything like that, and we could definitely connect. I'll be watching you in the future for sure.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate that. You're the resident expert here. Any advice to us before you go? What do we got to do to get like you?
Everybody's saying that now. Like see that whole thing is so weird, man. Just stay consistent, man. Everybody should just stay consistent with whatever you're doing. And good things have to happen, right? As long as you stay consistent, stay with it, and have a positive attitude in anything you're doing, whether it's podcasting, media, or if you're, in sports, whatever the case may be, be positive, have a positive outlook and be able to keep going and have that consistency and always think what's next, what you can do, better in the future and have that what's next mentality. I think good things could happen from that. So
there you go. What's next? What's next podcast? Go check them out. Don't know how much I can be a help to you with my audience, but versus your numbers you probably have. But if you haven't checked out his podcast, go check it out.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, for Coleman Scott and for Mario Maitland, this has been episode number 106 of Talkin' Kentucky. And we'll see y'all next time. Go Cats.
Go Cats.